We're all very excited about the PCSK9 inhibitors. It's clear that they will be at least as potent as statins and can be used in addition to statins. Many times they're more potent than the statins. And so we have the ability now to treat high-risk groups better than we've ever treated them before, to levels where no man has gone before.
For the millions of men and women who daily ingest cholesterol medication, the news was indeed something close to a godsend. New drugs that may reduce the risk of heart attacks, perhaps even cut them in half. But before the celebrations begin, let us focus on one word in that sentence that should cause you to pause. Put on the blue gown. Let's enter the operating theater, if you will. Welcome back to MidPoint. The Newsmax deputy health editor and co-author of DaVinci's Baby Boomer Survival Guide, Nick Tate, joins us here in the studio. All right, Mr. Survival. Good to be here. Let's get to it. Good to see you again. Here's the word. New cholesterol drugs may reduce heart risk. Let's tell everybody back off a little bit. It's nice to hear, but this is still completely, we're still walking into an unknown.
We are. This drug is very exciting in that what they found is when the doctors paired it with a statin, it reduced cholesterol to a much greater level than just the statin drug by itself. It's an injectable. It's part of a new breed of drugs that are being developed called biologics that, unlike chemically synthesized drugs, are largely they're gene-derived, bioengineered from human genes and from other natural sources. And they hold a great deal of promise. They're now used in a couple things like MS and rheumatoid arthritis. But it would still need, this drug would still need to pass through a gauntlet from the FDA to get approval for safety and effectiveness. But in light of the benefits when added to a statin, it won't replace statins, but it could boost their effectiveness. We could see it on the market in the next year or two.
Are these biologics then considered to be more effective, easier to take? What's the big edge here?
Well, what they do is they work with the natural body's systems better than some of these chemically synthesized drugs. They are injectables, so they're not as easy. That's one of the downsides. They're also very costly. Generic statins can be $4 or $5 a month. These will cost tens of thousands of dollars. But the benefits in reducing heart risk may outweigh those costs.
And guess what? I saw the stock market prices. Everything was going up for everybody right away, man. They're all making bucks on this.
Amgen,
which of course,
the maker, yes.
Exactly. Right. Well, we'll talk about that as it goes on here. Yeah. We've talked about this before. The journal JAMA Pediatrics puts it out. Here it is right here. The refusal by parents to get their kids vaccinated fueled the outbreak of measles at Disneyland. It is now a proven fact, but we'll still never be able to prove it to some people.
Well, that's true. I mean, this is one of those things where it's very hard to convince those folks who are anti-vaccines that vaccines are in the interest of not only their children, but everybody else's children. This latest research does clarify that we don't yet know who that first patient was, whether it was an American citizen, whether it was somebody from somewhere else, but the spread of the measles, I think it's now 156 people in about 12 states and a couple countries beyond the U.S. was clearly fed by the fact that many of the people in Disneyland that day, the kids, were not vaccinated. The calculations are that as many as 50% of those kids who were exposed to the measles did not get a vaccine. That's a huge, huge number.
Parents, please, look, we're going to ask one time. Vaccinate your kids, will you please? I'll get a lot of bad tweets on that. I always do. Every time I say that, I get it rolling up here.
Well, the science is in your corner there, Ed.
Thank you. I'll take that. Less than 60 seconds to go. Two things. Yeah. Coke is marketing itself as a healthy snack. And finally, oh my goodness, a study that says diet sodas can actually lead to weight gain. I'm shocked and stunned.
That's right. Well, let's take them one at a time. The diet soda study, a lot of people went from traditional full sugar sodas to diet sodas thinking that they would be a better deal. But in fact, this latest research shows that people who drink a daily diet soda are much greater risk, 3 times the risk for obesity as they get older than those who drink none at all or even one. The second piece of this is kind of interesting. Coke rolled out recently these little tiny cans of Coke, 7.5 ounces, and they have a bunch of consultants who are clinical dietitians, registered dietitians, and got them to write about them as part of a healthy alternative to cut back, but it's still a 90-calorie jolt of high fructose corn syrup. So the point is, when you're reading information online, when you're reading it in newspapers, you need to consider the source of where it's coming from. Some of this is common sense. A Coke is never going to be a health food, and that's the reality.
Yeah, okay. And we got to tell people that not even cutting it with rum will make it a healthy food either. We need to remind everybody. Speaking of healthy, we have your next snack coming up. You're going to love this one. Let's welcome back the Newsmax Deputy Health Editor, co-author of the DaVinci Baby Boomer Survival Guide. Nick Tate joins us once again here in the studio. And I did promise you that we're going to get to the best snack that you'll never want to touch in your life, but that'll come up a little bit later on here. We're going to send people right out for this one. All right, let's start out here. Obesity raises a woman's cancer risk by 40%. I would imagine that it would raise it, but almost in half. That's a stunning figure.
It's huge. I mean, we hear a lot about obesity and heart disease and diabetes and those problems. We also hear about obesity and Alzheimer's disease, but this is one of the first studies out of the UK to really show and quantify that your risk for cancer goes up the more you gain weight. Women were found to have about a 1 in 4 risk of developing weight-related cancers if they were obese. Breast cancer we're talking about, colorectal cancer, kidney, pancreas, and other kinds of cancers that are clearly tied to weight. The bad news in this, of course, is that
everything.
Well, no, genetics is a factor in cancer, but so is lifestyle. That's the bad news. If you're overweight, you're really stacking the odds against you. The good news is you can cut your risk of developing these cancers by almost half by shedding some pounds.
Once again, this is common sense, because as I look at the report here, it says there's a number of possible ways that obesity can increase cancer risk, including one that's linked to fat cells' production of hormones, especially estrogen, which fuels, possibly, cancer development.
That's right.
All this comes down to, at the end of the day, again, common sense. We're not basically telling everybody you need to go out and become a stick, but at least just be smart about what you do to your body.
Right. And it's not just cardiovascular, too. I mean, a solid foundation of muscle can really help moderate and regulate those hormones that are important for the development of things like disease as well as health. So that's really what's happening. The other thing is when you gain weight, your metabolism goes down. Your systems don't function as well, including your immune system, and that may be fueling it as well.
Here's another one that kind of catches everybody. Oh boy, they're going to go out running for the Viagra counters. Viagra can now possibly fight diabetics. What's the connection
Actually,
here?
what it is, it's a diabetes-related condition, neuropathy. It's nerve pain that about 70% of diabetics experience. And what they found is that the Viagra improves blood flow, this we knew. That's why it works as effectively as it does for what it's used to treat primarily, but it also helps in treating nerve pain and nerve damage. Interesting, I'm not surprised at this. The original research that was done on Viagra actually was not for erectile dysfunction, it was for heart disease. You may know this. And when those studies wrapped up and the researchers asked those men to give back their unused bottles of blue pills, they all said, no, I would like to keep mine. And they asked why, and when they told them, that's when they realized that it had, of course, this other benefit.
Once again, that seems like that would be from Flora. Duh. But then again, that's another story altogether.
Might have been.
All right, about a minute and a half left. Here we go. Now, this is the one that I promised you, right? I have been to ball games before in Wilmington, Delaware at the Blue Rocks Stadium. They're one of those minor league franchises that always looks for something goofy. They've now come up with a donut dog. It is a hot dog. Please tell me we have a picture of this. Please.
I'm hoping.
Oh, we don't have how could we not have a picture of this?
Well, visualize.
It is a hot dog topped with bacon and jelly on a glazed donut bun. It's called the Krispy Kreme dog, but why?
Just to do something different. You know, what they're trying to do is generate some interest and they won't tell you how many calories are in this.
An interest in what? Going out and finding new drugs?
It's a publicity stunt. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to get people to come up with a name for it.
There it is!
Oh, yes. Yikes. So I actually went to the Facebook site where the team is getting fans to weigh in on what they should call this thing. And some of the suggestions are actually pretty good. The diabetes dog was one that I saw. The double bypass dog was another. And my favorite, of course, the death by donut dog. And that's probably the most accurate
It's
description.
1,500 calories, but do we know how many, do we know offhand how many fat grams are in that?
Well,
I mean, or do we even want to know at this point?
At this point, counting those calories and those fat, it's beyond the point.
If you have one of these, you're not counting. And then by the way, these are the people who go, I'll have one of the creamy weenies, whatever you want to call it.
And a diet soda.
And a diet soda.
Right. Now, what?
No, it's bad for you.
What we really should be doing instead of counting calories is how many years it'll shave off.
No,
your
what we
life
should
if
be
you
doing
eat
is
these.
having Steve, Body by Steve on the floor out here. You know that he's right over there. He's waiting for one of these right now, plus 6 Cokes. Reminder again, survive the baby boomer financial crisis with the newly released book, DaVinci's Baby Boomer Survival Guide, by going to Baby Boomers 711. Always a pleasure to have you in the show, my friend.
pleasure.
I'll see you at the gym now. We'll see if Steve wants to go too. Third and final hour on MidPoint, how the Middle East and America will change, if at all, with Benjamin Netanyahu still Prime Minister. We're coming back right here on MidPoint. Not you, Steve.